This breakthrough technology is going to change the way we create games forever. Now, you may have heard of the advancements in AI video, AI image, and large language models, but something that's going completely under the radar is the development of real world AI models. And that means that you can use a simple text prompt to generate an entire reality, an entire universe, an entire simulation. And Google has just released the most groundbreaking model so far. And we're going to take a look at how you can use simple text prompts like this to create your entire universe and entire playable games. We're going to be seeing what's possible, what the other competitors are doing, and what the implications of this are for the future of robotics, gaming, education, and so much more. If you're new here, I'm AI Samson, and on this channel we explore the latest possibilities of AI technology. So everything you're seeing here has been generated using a single prompt, and the prompt was jet ski during the Festival of Lights. And as you can see, there's an open world reality as well as a mode of transportation. And here you can see at the bottom left the controls that are being used to navigate this environment. And you can see that it's wonderfully detailed, and even the physics of bumping into different objects is completely believable. We get this wonderful sense of water rippling across the surface here, and even the interface on the jet ski remains consistent as we go through the different elements. Now, did you notice that just as it hit that light, the light bumped off the front of our vehicle? It's absolutely stunning. Now, there are a number of impressive demonstrations here showcasing just how varied the environments are that can be created. Here, the prompt was walking on a pavement in Florida next to a two-lane road from one side, and the sea on the other, during an approaching hurricane with strong winds and waves splashing on the road. There was a railing on the left of the agent separating them from the sea. So you can see just the amount of detail that can be added to these world descriptions, not only in the elements that exist in the environment, but also in how the environment is interacting with you. This is frankly incredible. If you've ever got to the end of a game and thought, wow, I wish there was a few more levels, I wish I could play something new. Well, now that imagination is becoming a reality, and you'll be able to simply prompt any idea that you have and turn it into your own playpen. Now, obviously, there are some problems with opening this type of technology to the world, and it is currently only a research paper. However, I will show you a couple of projects that you can get your hands on right now and use later in the video. So here is another one of my favorite examples. This is the fast tracking real world video following a jellyfish swimming at high speeds through the darkness of the deep sea between canyons covered in densely packed vent mussels with tiny white crabs crawling on them. Blurry hydrothermal vents in the distance spew thick, billowing plumes of vibrant blue, mineral-rich smoke from glowing rocky structures. And the aesthetic of this scene is simply bewildering. I love these immersive blue tones, and it certainly gives you a sense of being submerged in the ocean. Not only that, but the design of the characters that we see of this jellyfish is fantastic. Just notice how realistic the swimming motion of it is. Now, this is a complex scene to understand, as much of the training data for these models come from, of course, our natural reality, not from a submersive world. So the fact it can handle this type of environment so well is truly impressive. Now, what's beautiful about this is you can really prompt a whole host of different types of vehicles. So here we can see helicopter pilot carefully maneuvering over a coastal cliff, and we get the blades of the chopper coming into shot above us, and it gives us a wonderful reality. Now, it's able to develop immensely detailed natural environments. I mean, if we look at the complexity in these 3D shapes of these different plant leaves, it gives us a wonderful sense of variety of the leaves. You can see that all the leaves look very different. Often you will find in games or anything that's been made by hand is that there will be a continuous repetition of objects. It's almost as if one leaf has been copied and pasted around the environment. But here, the variety is just absolutely stunning. Here we have a scene running by the shores of a glacial lake, exploring branching paths through the forest, crossing flowing mountain streams, set amidst beautiful snow-capped mountains and pine. And you can notice that the water is flowing there on this little tiny waterfall. And the way that we move through the trees to be met with this beautiful verdant scene is absolutely stunning. Now, what I love about this is it's not simply limited to creating realistic representations. We can also create surreal, imaginative worlds. And this example shows a fantastical wide-angle shot captures a lush, enchanted forest bathed in soft glow of twilight. The player controls a large firefly flying through towering trees with vibrant foliage, creating a dense canopy overhead, filtering the sunlight and casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. Now, I love the design of this character. We've got this beautiful glowing butt of this flying insect, and the surreal elements of this landscape are truly mesmerizing. Just look at these fantastical designs of these tree houses above these trunks. Now here we have another surreal environment with these floating islands. And this is what I love about the concepts here, that we can truly bring anything in our imagination into reality. And this is absolutely stunning, really. I mean, not only is this cascading waterfall a fantastic focal point of the piece, but the rhythmic walking of the individual is highly realistic. There's a couple of things always to look out for with dynamic movement when observing AI-generated content. And one is to make sure that the person is moving at a consistent speed related to how fast they are moving their limbs. So here I would say it's almost perfect, but it does feel as if the landscape is moving just a fraction too fast for how quickly he is moving his appendages. But one thing I particularly love about this example is the nuanced tonal range. You can see here that it is slightly desaturated and it has these wonderful grays, greens, and blues, and it uses this more restricted tonal range to give us a much more atmospheric environment. And it's elements like this that really stand out for exceptional AI models. When they're not trying to cram everything into your scene, it's actually what they remove which gives us the best sense of aesthetics, realism, and atmosphere. And here we have a beautiful origami-style lizard completely going to a different end of the spectrum of what it can create. This is a highly stylized, poly-inspired realm. And what I love about this is the stylization of the ocean here. We've got these wonderful cascading layers of waves, and just noticing how the animal here changes the way that it moves depending on what environment it's in. So you can see here the way that it runs is a very different animation to that of when it's swimming in the ocean. This is absolutely delicious. And here we have a vibrant 3D style. An adorable fluffy creature is bounding across a vibrant rainbow. And I love this tail here. There's a real sense of joy and abundance coming through in the way this tail is bouncing up and down. It's a particularly curious looking creature. I mean, the design of it is lovely. The fact it doesn't have any front limbs is extremely endearing. So for some reason it evokes to me some of the energy and ethos of Spyro the Dragon. Now, one of the interesting possibilities of this technology is not just from a gaming perspective, but also from an educational perspective. It allows you to explore realistic environments anywhere on the Earth without actually visiting them. And this can open up an understanding of not only geography, but also history. And we have a couple of examples demonstrating those possibilities. So here we have a biking enthusiast driving on a narrow road on an edge of a cliff in India, the Kishtwar Road. Real world, first person, only hands on handles visible. So, of course, we want to admire that we have perfectly anatomically correct hands here. Of course, that was such a trouble for so many years. And here you can see that he is accurately grasping the handlebars in an incredibly logical way. I would point out that there seems to be a slight asymmetry between the brakes on the handlebars, but I'm being particularly pernickety in this observation. Now, it seems like he's taking this moderately slowly. You might like to see him let loose a little bit more and speed down this rather dangerous looking Indian highway, Kishtwar Road. But we can take a look at what this looks like in real life and get an idea of how realistic this is. And you must say it's doing a very good job comparatively. It almost looks identical to this scene here. I don't think I'll be adding that one to my bucket list personally. But if you do enjoy rather adrenaline-inducing bicycle rides, feel free. Now, if you have ever dreamed of perusing the canals of Venice by Vaporetto, then you're in luck, because we have an example showcasing just that. But here is one of the most creative examples, and this showcases a person wingsuit flying through an alpine landscape. And what we love about this is that it has a fantastic control over this very unusual form of transport. Now, what's incredible about this model, which I must stress, is that you can take an action and the environment instantly updates. So this is real-world, real-time interactivity. And this has been a huge challenge for them in developing this model. They said to achieve real-time interactivity, computation must happen multiple times per second in response to new user inputs as they arrive. Now, the other huge challenge of creating an interactive real-world model like this is environmental consistency. And essentially, that is about keeping things looking the same once you see them and the next time you see them. It's not as if you go into one room, return, and then suddenly it's an entirely different room. The other important element of this is if you take any actions. So if you perhaps break something or paint something on a wall, that when you return to see it, it's still there. And this is crucial in creating a reality that we can imagine ourselves interacting with. And they say that in order for AI-generated worlds to be immersive, they have to stay physically consistent over long horizons. However, generating an environment auto-regressively is generally a harder technical problem than generating an entire video. So they're saying it's harder to create an environment that stays consistent than it is to simply create a video. Now, they say inaccuracies tend to accumulate over time. Despite the challenge, Genie 3 environments remain largely consistent for several minutes, with visual memory extending as far back as 1 minute ago. So the important factor to take into account here is that the visual memory can last for a couple of minutes, but not for hours. So right now, it's possible to create a reality that remains consistent for a period of duration around about 120 seconds. But if we're looking to create real intense games that go on for hours, then we're not quite there yet. So let's take a look at a couple of examples showcasing this. Here we have a fantastical, whimsical forest environment. It seems like they very much enjoy using the adjectives fantastical and whimsical. Now we have these interesting toadstool houses, not much furniture. I think they might need a visit to IKEA there. Perhaps they can add that as a feature. But what we're seeing here is that as we re-emerge from our toadstool, the reality still looks exactly the same. That all of the elements are kept in the memory of the model, and we're able to navigate this world effectively. So just take an image here of this toadstool. We can notice there is a toadstool here, and then we're going to go into this house. You can see that you can perform this action with an action button. That mostly the controls being used here are the arrow keys, and as we return out of the toadstool, you can see that these toadstools are still there in the same place. Now this is particularly impressive, this example, because it showcases just how exact the consistency is. If we look from this frame of noticing exactly how the paint extends a little bit beyond here, and then we return to this just a few seconds later, you can see that it's almost perfect. We can even match this up ourselves by taking a screenshot. Let's take a screenshot of it. And you can see here, it's almost imperceptibly accurate, the two frames. Now, the only thing I might pick out from is some of the dappling here in this area does seem to have changed minutely. But that is simply by taking a screenshot and comparing it. I would also say perhaps this one appears to be a little bit longer than this one. Now, here there is also an example from ancient Greece, and you can see that they have identified that there is a pair of trees here, and that they appear 3 times in the video, and in each point they maintain the same layout, composition, and style. Now these worlds are incredibly beautiful, and they even worked at a higher pace. This is a demonstration of a drone flying through a narrow gorge, and you can see that it's updating extremely quickly, and this is very important for any type of high dynamic type of video game. And it's absolutely beautiful, really. I mean, just seeing how the light is dappling through this narrow valley is absolutely stunning. Now, if you're interested in taking a leap into creating your own AI influencer, Check this out. FanView is the #1 place to monetize your own AI influencer. Many other platforms still don't allow AI influencers or restrict them heavily. That's different with FanView. It's a platform created with AI influencers at the forefront. Hundreds of AI influencers are already monetizing using FanView, including some of the most well-known creators in the space. Now, FanView is the exact platform that I recommend in my AI Influencer Masterclass. It's perfect for monetizing your content and turning this into a viable business. Now, there is a huge opportunity to create inside of this AI revolution, and AI influencers are undoubtedly the future of content creation. But this opportunity won't last forever. Right now, there's a wonderful window where the technology exists, but people have still not taken advantage of it. So you have the chance to be a first mover. Now, if you are interested in exploring the world more deeply, do feel free to check out both my course and FanView in the links in the description below. And a big thanks to FanView for sponsoring this segment of the video. Now, of course, with any good video game, you need to be able to take action. And that's something that you can prompt inside of the real world model. And it also takes advantage of the idea that you can simply prompt anything into a real world model. You're not limited by what is possible in the game mechanics. You can simply come up with any action, idea, or event that you can envisage. And that truly opens up an infinite possibility for interactions and experiences. Now, they have a little demo here, which is quite a lot of fun to explore. So you can see here that we are skiing together. There is a banana paragliding down this mountain. And what's lovely is that we get an option to choose some of the other events. So you can simply try deer herd. And here, you can see that we are skiing, and of course, suddenly we are in a stampede of deers emerging from the left. Now, I would say the animation of these is slightly leaving something to be desired. It seems as if they are like a wooden cutout that is being dragged across the screen. But I am being rather fierce with my critique. Now, there is a couple of other examples. Here is one from back in London, down by the canals in East London, living it large, trying to buy a bag, and then suddenly there's a chicken suit runner, which appears out of nowhere. Of course, just what we expected. You can also see an example demonstrating a dragon appear and splashing into the canal, getting us a little bit wet. Not quite what we wanted. And of course, what everyone expects to see in a London canal is a jet ski. But the fact it's able to generate entirely new characters and actions based on the exact environment you're in real time is absolutely astounding. And I'm quite simply blown away by this. And it truly is a new frontier for gaming. And it will inherently have huge impacts on the industry as well as the jobs, specifically for 3D designers or those in lower level positions. But you can also argue that this is opening up a whole possibility for indie gamers to create their own offerings. Now, another interesting part that they have in this announcement is their experiments with fueling embodied agent research. And what they did is they used a recent version of their Simmer agent, which is an AI agent for 3D virtual environments. So essentially, they created an AI entity to play the game on their behalf. Now, in each world, they instructed the agent to pursue a set of distinct goals. Now, we have some examples demonstrating exactly what can happen in this experiment. So let's take a look at this garden experiment, and we're going to instruct the agent to walk to the shed. And you can see the agent is navigating through, taking a good look at the plant pot, doing a little 360, and then bam, he's found the shed, and we're heading to it. Now you can see this for other elements inside of the environment. This one is approach the hose. Oh, he did that pretty quick. Oh, have a good look at that hose. That's a nice looking hose. But let's take a look at this example inside of a museum. You can see that we're able to navigate to different elements of the scene simply by instructing our agent. Now, this opens up even more possibilities to run complex simulations where we are not just prompting the environments and experiencing them ourselves, we're also prompting characters to relate to the environments that we create. And what this does is it opens up an incredible box of possibilities, because we can create situations where AI can explore and navigate different potential experiments and allow it to come up with interesting approaches, outcomes, or strategies for complex situations. Now, you can think of it a little bit like allowing an AI to go off into a specific world and try to discover new information about this reality. And this will be an incredible opportunity for expanding the wealth of human knowledge. And I'm exceptionally excited to see where that might go and the possibilities of what that entails. Now, of course, there are limitations still to this, and it's important to caveat those so we are aware of where this technology is. And one of the first important limitations to be aware of is the limited action space. And although promptable world events allow for a wide range of environmental interventions, they are not necessarily performed by the agent itself. The range of actions agents can perform directly is currently constrained. Now, there's also interaction and simulation of other agents. And accurately modeling complex interactions between multiple independent agents in shared environments is still an ongoing research challenge. There's also the challenge of accurate representation of real-world locations. Genie 3 is currently unable to simulate real-world locations with perfect geographic accuracy. And of course, text rendering. Clear and legible text is only generated when provided in the input world description. So that means if you input a prompt for some clear text, you can get that. But when it generates this on the fly inside of the world, it will generate a gobbledygook and nonsensical words. And finally, there is a limited interaction duration. The model can currently support a few minutes of continuous interaction rather than extended hours. Now, this is only available currently to a small cohort of academics and creators. And this approach allows us to gather crucial feedback and interdisciplinary perspectives. Now, of course, they said this with pretty much every piece of AI technology that we've had so far. I mean, you'll remember when Sora was first announced, and it took us more than a year to get our hands on it. And they said that they were exploring what is the implications and the dangers of this. But we did get our hands on it. And that's mainly because there were other competitors and open source models that were releasing their products into the wild. And with that in mind, we're going to take a look at a few competitors to this model and also some things that we can actually use right now. And one of those is Odyssey World. And this is a platform that actually includes AI researchers who were previously of DeepMind. So these are people who were previously working on the exact team that created Genie 3, and now they're working on their own product. And what's great about that is they've gone ahead and created a preview that you can try entirely for free. Now, as soon as you're into this reality, it generates an entire world for you on the fly. Now, you do have to wait a few moments until it's your turn to give it a go. Currently, we're number 1 in line. And here we are. We're in a world, and you can see that I can navigate through this, and I can go into this doorway. Now, of course, the resolution is not as good as Genie 3, but the fact we can actually use it for free is quite mind-bending. Now, you can see that we can even return to where we were, and that the consistency remains incredibly impressive. Here we are, and the world is just as we imagined. Now, what's great is that every time you log into this, it will create you an entirely new world. So this time we return to Odyssey World, and let's see what universe we're being dropped into today. Here we are in some sort of snowy forest world. Now, I quite like the almost blurry VHS effect of this world. It gives it almost a horror-like feeling, almost as if you're in like a horror dream. And in some of their examples, they also showcase there being other characters involved. Now, it's important to note just how quickly this technology is evolving, because previously we had Genie 2. Now, Genie 2 came out in December 2024, and now we're in August. And so it's only been 7 months for them to release an entire new update. And you can see here just how much of an improvement it is from Genie 2 to Genie 3. The resolution is increased, the clarity and the quality of the environments, as well as the realism and nature of the movements of our characters. But there is a couple of other models that you might not be aware of, and one of those is coming from Nvidia. And what's interesting about this is they are focusing on robotics. So one of the most important use cases for this is simulating how robots can interact in the real world. So imagine you have a robot entity, and here it is in reality, how does it understand what to do and how to navigate this world? Well, what it needs is a 3D real-world model so it can understand what to do in this reality. And this one is called Isaac Lab, and they say it's designed to help train robot policies. And you can see here exactly how it's trying to approach these problems. It's looking to understand complex environments and actions so that it can train robots to handle these. Now, of course, China is getting in on the game, and this is probably the most likely source of how we're going to get Google to release these into the public world. It's because Chinese competitors are releasing open source versions for everyone to test out. And one of these is coming from Hunyuan, which I believe is a subsidiary of Tencent, which is a Chinese multinational company conglomerate that owns many different brands. Now, here is their GameCraft model, and you can see that it has some pretty impressive demonstrations of environments that have been created and showcasing a similar level of history preservation or environmental consistency, as we've been talking about, as well as being able to showcase us various different types of vehicles that you can generate inside of their model. I particularly admire this first-person shooter that we have here. And the prompt for this was: a sniper rifle with a mounted scope is aimed across a vast field of dry grass toward distant trees under a partly cloudy sky. Now, of course, what is exciting about this is that everybody can have the possibility to create their own game world. And there's a project that I'd love to draw your attention to by this channel called AI Illusory, and they reimagine GTA in a whole host of different environments. And for me, this is exciting to look at because it shows us the potential for what we can do with these new models. So let me play you just a little clip from this imagination of GTA in India. Here we have a tuk-tuk driving around, and it's an extremely engaging and beautiful rendition of a completely different world for GTA. Now, what's good about this channel is they have a whole host of different countries. Here's Russia. Wow, that is pretty grim and grotty, absolutely. But I particularly love the details here, even of this man's hat, particularly Russian. Here we are in the red square. It is incredibly exciting, the applications of this type of technology, because I think for the casual user, the excitement is about gaming, but the implications of more practical use cases is absolutely astonishing. We can think about what this means for navigating impossible situations, so we can explore the world in a way that was never before possible. And this is particularly important, perhaps, for understanding the best way to react to terrorist attacks or natural disasters, and in creating plans even for war simulation. So you can imagine if you're creating an incredibly detailed environmental exploration of a certain combat situation, you're able to play out what might happen and see different scenarios that could lead to a strategic advantage. Now, I'm also curious about perhaps exploring the possible elements of social exploration. So you can create social, almost like a Sims interaction of this, where you are not only having these wonderfully programmed environments, but we're also including the intelligence of LLMs to direct characters in certain ways. So we can play out vast scenarios in a social experiment. I think the possibility for running experiments, even for performing research across a whole host of domains, is incredibly exciting. And I, for one, can't wait to see what happens next. Genie 3 presents a new frontier in world models, and it's opening the door for greater and greater experiences within AI. We are truly living through one of the most profound revolutions of AI and human advancement. And I, for one, am incredibly excited. And if you would like to dive deeper into the possibilities of AI, do check out my courses below in the description. There's a special discount for you. But if you would like to dive deeper into the world of AI, make sure to watch this video next, which explores the possibilities of creating with uncensored AI video models. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, feel free to share it with someone else who might find it interesting. It's this type of sharing that helps support the channel and allow it to grow, and I would truly appreciate it. But most of all, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching till the end. Thank you for being here. But most of all, I want to wish you a delightful day.